Welcome to the Thought Provoked podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Claire. Hello, everyone.
So today we're diving into how we start our days.
Yeah.
Instead of just sort of falling out of bed into, well, whatever happens next.
Right, the usual chaos.
Exactly. What if we could approach the morning with, like, real intention? You know that feeling? Like when the world is still super quiet and it just feels like, well, anything's possible.
Yeah, that early morning stillness.
Exactly. That first bit of dawn, it isn't just, the start of another day. It feels like this really powerful moment, a chance to set a course. I was thinking about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He saw the dawn as an appeal to excellence, like not just wake up, but rise up.
That's a strong way to put it, isn't it? That those early hours hold something unique, a kind of potential.
Yeah.
And, well, we've been looking into some really compelling ideas about how to actually harness that time, drawing on some pretty timeless wisdom, actually. So for you, our listener, if you're always looking for that edge, those insights that can really shift things, this deep dive is all about pulling out those key principles for crafting mornings that don't just sort of happen, but actively, propel you forward.
Totally. We're not just talking about setting your alarm half an hour earlier.
No, not at all.
It's more like diving into a whole philosophy, a way of thinking about those first few moments that can, ripple outwards, shape your whole day, maybe even your bigger goals.
Exactly. And our starting point for this, it actually takes us way back to ancient Greece and this concept called eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia, okay.
Yeah. No, this isn't just like everyday happiness. It's much deeper than that.
Deeper how?
Think of it more like flourishing, like realizing your full potential, your true self. It's that core sense of purpose that gives your life, direction.
Okay, right. Let's try and unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
So eudaimonia isn't just about feeling good right now.
Correct.
It's about actively becoming who you could be. The best version, sort of.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it, yeah.
And it strikes me that the morning, because it is quieter, it gives you this amazing space to actually intentionally take steps towards that.
That's the key word, intentional.
So a focused morning isn't just, oh, good, I got stuff done. It's like laying a brick, a deliberate brick, in building a life that actually feels meaningful.
Precisely. And think about the contrast, right? Those mornings where you just wake up and immediately get, sucked into the day's chaos. Emails, demands.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
Many times.
We all have. But over time, if that's the constant pattern, these unfocused starts can lead to this subtle, nagging feeling, like something's missing.
A lack of satisfaction.
Yeah, or direction. Eudaimonia, really. It's that why. The reason you drag yourself out of bed.
Yeah.
Your quest, if you like. The thing that drives your actions. Aristotle saw it as the ultimate goal, achieved through virtue, reason, self-realization, that whole journey.
So for anyone listening, our personal eudaimonia, it might be different for everyone, right? It could be that creative thing you keep delaying.
Could be. Or a skill you've always wanted to master.
Or maybe just connecting more deeply with your own values. It sounds like it's less about external stuff, trophies and promotions, and more about that inner feeling like you're on the right track.
That internal alignment, yes, that's crucial. And here's something practical you can try, right away in your morning routine.
Okay, just take a brief moment, quiet reflection. Ask yourself, what's one small thing, like a concrete action I can take today that would nudge me just a little bit closer to that eudaimonia, to my potential? Just jot down whatever pops into your head. Don't censor it. Then look at the list and pick the one that feels most right, most resonant.
I like that. It makes this big philosophical idea feel doable, tangible.
Exactly.
Because chasing eudaimonia, this deep purpose, it isn't just for, philosophy seminars. It actually translates into a life that feels richer, maybe more challenging, but in a good way.
Yes, definitely in a good way. More meaningful connections, more creativity, a stronger sense of well-being. It all flows from that sense of purpose.
It really gives you a powerful reason to get up, doesn't it? Beyond just have to go to work.
Absolutely. Having that objective that actually feeds your soul, pushes you towards who you could be, it's fundamental. There's that idea about needing a final purpose for your efforts, right? Without that clear direction, even a ton of activity can feel, empty, pointless.
Okay, that makes sense. But these amazing intentional mornings, They don't just appear out of thin air when the alarm rings, do they?
No, definitely not.
It feels like it really starts the night before.
You've hit on something crucial there. Our days are so interconnected. People who have those really focused, productive mornings, they often have evening routines that consciously set them up for it.
Right.
I mean, obviously you can't control your consciousness when you're asleep, but what you do in those hours before sleep, it has a massive impact on sleep quality, on how easily you wake up, how effective you are. It's like prepping the launch pad.
Laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because if you go to bed feeling wired, mind racing.
Exactly. That's going to cast a shadow over the next morning for sure. You won't feel rested.
So what are some key things then? What evening practices should we be thinking about?
Well, one really big one is creating a clear boundary between the, stimulation of the day and the quiet needed for sleep.
Like a buffer zone.
Kind of. And the biggest culprit here is screens. TV, phone, tablet. Avoiding those right before bed is huge. Maybe even make a pact with yourself. No screens in the bedroom. Period.
Oof. That's a tough one in today's world.
It is. But the science on blue light messing with melatonin and sleep cycles is pretty solid. It just makes it harder for your brain to wind down naturally.
Okay. Point taken. What else? Besides ditching the phone in bed.
Preparing your actual environment for the next day. It sounds small, but it makes a surprisingly big difference.
How so?
Like, say you plan to work out first thing, lay out your gym clothes the night before, shoes, socks, everything. Ready to go.
So it removes a barrier.
Exactly. It's one less decision you have to make when you're groggy, and your willpower is, frankly, at its lowest ebb. Plus, seeing the clothes there can act as a little visual cue, reinforce the intention.
That's a great practical tip. Minimizing those little mental hurdles when you're half asleep. Genius.
It helps. And you mentioned a racing mind. A cluttered mind really does sabotage sleep.
Yeah, lying there thinking about work or bills or that argument.
Right, that mental rehashing. So another evening practice is trying to resolve what you can resolve before bed. If there are controllable problems, tackle them. Or at least make a plan. Even just writing down a to-do list for tomorrow can free up that mental space.
Okay, handle what's controllable. But what about the big stuff? The worries that you can't just fix before bed?
That's where something like a simple breathing technique can be incredibly helpful.
Like meditation?
Sort of, but even simpler. Just focus on your breath. Deep diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose, let your belly rise, maybe count to 5, then exhale slowly through your mouth, maybe for a count of 6.
Okay.
Doing that for just a few minutes sends a signal to your nervous system like, it's safe, you can relax now. It helps release tension, slows your heart rate, quiets that anxious chatter. It directly interrupts the worry cycle.
So these evening things, less screen time, getting stuff ready, dealing with worries, maybe some deep breathing, they're not really sacrifices, are they? They're more like investments.
That's exactly the way to look at it. Investments in a better morning and ultimately a more effective, accomplished day. It's being proactive.
Right. Taking charge.
Precisely. And then the alarm goes off. The next big step is consciously shielding yourself from all the stuff that immediately starts yelling for your attention.
Oh, man, the distractions. They start instantly, don't they?
Relentless, before you're even fully conscious sometimes.
Yeah.
Remember that idea of focusing on the task at hand like a Roman, like a man, with total focus? Well, good luck with that in 2024. The avenues for distraction are endless. Social media pings, breaking news alerts, emails flooding in, even just looking around at chores that need doing.
It's so true. You wake up thinking, okay, today I'm going to write for an hour, and then suddenly you're scrolling Instagram or answering just one quick email.
And boom, half an hour gone, just evaporated.
Yeah. And the worst part is, sometimes those distractions feel productive.
That's the insidious part. They often masquerade as necessary. Checking work email feels important. Tidying the kitchen seems useful. But do they need your attention right then? Probably not.
Productive avoidance. That's what it feels like.
That's a great term for it. You're doing something so you feel okay, but you're avoiding the main thing, the important thing you set out to do.
Like organizing your bookshelf when you should be prepping for that big meeting.
Exactly like that. And that time right after waking up, it's precious. It's like gold. It's your prime opportunity to set your intention, prioritize, and start with purpose. By consciously fighting off those immediate distractions, you protect your mental energy. You focus it where it counts.
So practically speaking, the first step is just don't grab the phone.
That's a huge one. Resist the urge. Put off checking the news until later. Hold off on those little chores that can wait. Instead, dedicate that initial time, intentionally, to whatever aligns with your main goals for the day. That's the essence. Building that discipline right from the first moment. You take control. You set the stage for productivity, for meaningful work. It's about being fiercely protective of that first burst of focus.
Guarding that time.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, okay, establishing this routine, especially getting up earlier, consistency, it's the killer, right? It's so easy to fall back.
It really is. And there's this great idea about building your life action by action, purposefully. Finding satisfaction in each step that contributes to the bigger goal without getting sidetracked. That kind of mindful, step-by-step focus, that's key to becoming someone who actually gets up early, consistently, with intention.
It really highlights how those small choices add up.
Yeah.
And taking charge of your wake-up time feels foundational. Like if you can conquer that, you can maybe take charge of other things too.
Absolutely. It builds self-discipline. And think of self-discipline not as like punishment, but as a habit. The habit of doing what you intended to do. It usually needs that initial motivation to get started, to repeat the action. But then when you start seeing results, feeling better, that reinforces the motivation, makes it easier to keep going.
People always talk about like 21 days to form a habit. Is there anything to that, like a time frame for this morning routine thing?
Well, the exact number of days varies, but that initial period is critical, especially for something like consistently waking up earlier. That first month, say the first 30 days, often throws up the biggest challenges. Mentally, emotionally, it can actually help to break it down. Maybe think about it in 3 10-day phases.
Okay, interesting. 3 phases. What happens in phase 1, days 1 to 10?
That's usually the toughest stretch, honestly. The urge to quit, to hit snooze, is often really strong. Your brain is screaming, I'm tired, I need more sleep, this sucks.
That's familiar.
Right. The key here is just remembering. This part is temporary. It feels hard because your body and mind are adjusting. It won't feel like this forever. You just have to push through.
Okay, grit your teeth for the first 10 days, basically. No, it's an adjustment. What about phase 2, days 11 to 20?
It usually starts to feel a bit more manageable then.
Yeah.
Still takes effort, for sure, but maybe not quite as much brute force. And crucially, you might start noticing some benefits.
The rewards start kicking in.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe you feel a bit more energy later in the day, or you appreciate having that quiet, focused time, or you just feel good about sticking to it. Those little wins boost your confidence. They create more positive feelings about getting up early.
Right, so you get some positive reinforcement, which makes it easier to keep going.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then phase 3, day 21 onwards.
That's often where the real shift happens. It's less about forcing yourself and more about identity. Your self-perception starts to change. You might go from thinking, I'm not a morning person, to actually, maybe I am a morning person now. Instead of dreading the alarm, you might even start anticipating that quiet time. Because you've proved to yourself you can do it, and you're actually feeling the benefits. The habit starts to feel like part of you.
That's powerful. When it becomes part of your identity, it's not just something you do, it's who you are.
Exactly. And once that shift happens, maintaining it becomes much, much easier. But, even when it's a habit, there will be days, mornings when it just feels hard. That initial moment when the alarm goes off, how do we handle that discomfort?
Yeah, the siren song of the duvet.
Precisely. This is where that idea of embracing the present moment really helps. Taking things as they come.
Okay.
Like really pay attention to that feeling of resistance that, I don't want to, and ask yourself honestly, why does this feel unbearable right now? What specific thought, what sensation is making me want to stay put?
Dissecting the feeling.
Yeah. Often, if you really look at it without judging it, you find it's more like a mental wave you can ride out, not some huge insurmountable wall.
It reminds me of starting exercise.
Yeah.
That initial, I really don't want to do this feeling. But once you start moving.
Perfect analogy. It's rarely as bad as your brain tells you it's going to be. Our brains are kind of wired for instant gratification, immediate comfort. All right.
Sure.
So they fight against things that offer long-term benefits but require short-term discomfort. That's why so many people give up on new habits exercise, waking early right at the start. They mistake that initial difficulty, that temporary phase, for how it will always feel.
And that resistance, that initial can easily lead to procrastination, can't it? Not just hitting snooze, but maybe thinking, I slept in today, I'll start again Monday.
Totally. That all or nothing thinking, I messed up, so the whole week is ruined. But pushing through that initial discomfort and, crucially, getting back on track immediately if you do slip up. That's what builds real discipline, mental toughness.
Don't let one missed day become 2. or a week.
Exactly. Life throws curveballs. Things happen. We don't control everything, but we do control how we respond each day. Every single morning is a fresh start, a new chance for self-improvement, for recommitting.
So if you oversleep, don't beat yourself up.
Be kind to yourself, forgive the lapse, and then make a firm commitment. Tomorrow, I'm up early. Think of each day as a new opportunity, a fresh battle you can choose to fight and win.
I like that. New battle each day. It feels empowering, takes the pressure off perfection. And it connects to another idea, right? That discipline isn't just about the big stuff like waking up. It's also in the small things.
Oh, absolutely. This is incredibly insightful, how these tiny acts of self-control can ripple outwards. There's this teaching about deliberately practicing discipline in small, everyday things as training.
Training for what?
Training for the bigger challenges, like even something as simple as noticing you have a slight headache but choosing not to complain about it. That act of quiet endurance, that's mental training.
Building mental muscle with tiny reps.
Exactly. The word discipline itself comes from roots meaning teaching, instruction. So when you practice it, even in small ways, you're constantly teaching yourself, shaping your resilience, like tiny workouts for your willpower.
Okay, so what are some really practical, small things we could do in the morning context?
Well, one super simple but effective one we touched on. Put your alarm clock across the room.
Oh, yes. The physical barrier.
Right. It forces you to physically get up, engage your body. That movement itself helps generate a bit of energy, fight the grogginess. Once you're standing across the room to turn it off, crawling back into bed feels like more effort.
It breaks that automatic snooze reflex.
Totally. And speaking of snooze, make a conscious pact with yourself. No snooze button. Ever. Think about the message you send yourself when you hit it. Ugh, I hate waking up. Let me prolong this slightly less conscious misery.
Oh, yeah, it reinforces the negative feeling.
Exactly. If the alarm is across the room, you're already up. Stay up. Maybe make a rule. Once the alarm is off, you have to leave the bedroom. No going back to bed.
Creates a clear break, a point of no return.
Yes. And another small but powerful one, make your bed.
Really? Making the bed.
Sounds trivial, I know. But doing that one small task right at the start, it gives you an immediate sense of accomplishment, a tiny win.
Sets a positive tone.
Yeah, it can create this little domino effect. Okay, I did that. What's next? It makes you feel slightly more capable, more motivated. It reinforces that whole idea. Master the small things. Build a foundation for the big things.
A little win right off the bat. Builds momentum. Okay. Now, doing all this, it can be tough alone. Especially at the start. What about getting support, like having someone else involved?
Oh, that's huge. The power of connection, mutual support. Yeah. It shouldn't be underestimated. Teaming up with someone who's also trying to wake up early, or maybe someone who's already nailed it, that can massively increase your chances of success.
Like an accountability partner.
Yeah, or a motivation buddy. It's actually a key skill in any kind of personal growth, learning how to leverage that external support to stay motivated when your own internal drive dips, which it will.
So finding a motivation buddy isn't just like a nice extra. It's strategic.
Definitely. Think about it. A friend, family member, colleague who either gets your goal because they share it or because they've already done it. They can be that voice of encouragement when you're struggling, that reminder of why you started. And yeah, that accountability piece is powerful.
Knowing someone might text you up at 6 a.m.
Exactly. Or just knowing someone else is going through the same struggle or expecting you to stick with it, it makes it harder to just roll over. The benefits are undeniable. You draw inspiration from each other. Challenges feel less daunting when you're tackling them together.
So what makes a good motivation buddy for this?
You want someone who genuinely gets it, who shares the goal or respects yours. Someone who will offer constructive support, not just criticism or, making you feel bad if you slip. It needs to be built on mutual respect, encouragement.
Someone who lifts you up, basically.
Right. With that kind of positive dynamic, your chances of pushing through the tough spots and staying committed go way up. It can be a real game changer, especially in those first few weeks.
Okay, external support. Got it.
Yeah.
Now let's shift again to something that sounds maybe a bit heavy. Reflecting on mortality. In the morning.
Huh. Yeah, it does sound a bit grim initially, doesn't it? But the intention behind it is actually incredibly life-affirming.
How so?
It's this practice, sometimes called memento mori.
Remember you will die.
Exactly. It's about consciously thinking about the fact that our time is finite. Not to make you scared or depressed, but to inject urgency and meaning into how you live today.
It's less about death, more about life.
Precisely. It's a reality check. This time we have is limited. So how do we want to use it? Thinking about this in the morning helps cut through the trivial stuff, what really matters. Usually it's not the external stuff, possessions, status, those are temporary. What lasts is your character, how you act.
Focusing on what's truly within our control and what has real significance.
Yes, our character, the values we live by, that's truly ours. That's often our legacy. Remembering mortality anchors you. It helps distinguish the urgent from the important. Think about Steve Jobs asking himself every morning, if today were my last day, would I want to do what I'm about to do?
Yeah, that's powerful.
If the answer was no, too many days in a row, he knew something needed to change. That perspective is clarifying.
It forces you to check if your actions align with your values.
And the real fear shouldn't be death itself. It should be the fear of getting to the end and realizing you never truly lived. You were just busy, trapped in things you didn't value. Memento mori, used right, is a spur to live intentionally now.
Okay, that reframes it completely. It's about maximizing the present. Now, another practice that sounds a bit negative. Negative visualization, what's that about?
Right, it sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But again, it's about realism and resilience. It comes from this idea of preparing for life's inevitable bumps.
So expecting the worst, isn't that just pessimism?
Not exactly pessimism. It's more like mental preparedness, tempering expectations. It involves consciously thinking about things that could go wrong, not to dwell on them or manifest them, but to mentally rehearse. Okay, if this happens, how would I handle it calmly and rationally?
So it's like running scenarios, reducing the shock factor if something does go wrong.
Exactly. It makes you less likely to be completely thrown off course. It can actually reduce anxiety because you feel more prepared.
Can you give an example? How would you use this, say, before work?
Okay, imagine you have a big presentation. Instead of only visualizing wild success, you might spend a minute thinking, what if the projector fails? What if someone asks a really hostile question?
Right.
By thinking through your response in advance, okay, I'd have handouts ready, or I'd pause, take a breath, and address the question calmly. You're mentally prepped. If it happens, you're less flustered, and if it doesn't happen, you feel even better.
It's like a mental fire drill, so you don't panic in the actual fire.
Exactly, or a crucial client meeting. Visualize potential hiccups. Maybe they're resistant. Maybe they raise unexpected issues. How will you stay calm? How will you respond thoughtfully? Thinking it through beforehand increases your chances of handling it well if it occurs. Anticipating difficulty reduces fear and equips you to manage it.
Okay, I see the logic.
Yeah.
It shifts you from just hoping for the best to being prepared for reality.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite empowering. And that leads us maybe nicely to the final piece. Gratitude.
Yes, absolutely crucial. There's such power in consciously recognizing and appreciating the good things, the positive influences in our lives.
It grounds you, doesn't it?
It really does. Thinking about the people who've helped shape you, the opportunities you've had, it fosters well-being. It reminds us we're interconnected.
We rarely get anywhere totally alone, so how do we actively cultivate this, especially in the morning?
Keeping a gratitude journal is such a simple yet profound practice.
Just writing things down.
Yeah. And the key is, it doesn't have to be huge, earth-shattering things. In fact, focusing on the small, everyday stuff can be incredibly effective. Don't overlook the little things.
Like coffee this morning was really good.
Exactly. Or the sun is shining. Or you had a good chat with a friend. Or you're healthy, anything. Just take a couple of minutes each day, maybe morning, maybe evening, and jot down, say, 3 to 5 things you're genuinely grateful for. Doing this regularly, it literally rewires your brain to notice the positive more. And practicing it before bed can actually improve sleep quality and sets a more positive outlook for the next morning.
So ending the day grateful primes you for a better start tomorrow.
There seems to be a link, yeah.
Okay.
Your first thought in the morning is often influenced by your last thought at night. So create positive expectations. Be grateful. Forgive yourself for the day's mistakes. Commit to doing your best tomorrow. Remember that saying, things do not change, we change. It's our perspective that shifts.
That's a really hopeful thought to wrap things up with. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground here, journeying through some really foundational ideas for making mornings and maybe life more intentional.
We really have. From finding that deep purpose, that eudaimonia, to prepping the night before, shielding from distractions, building consistency through those phrases.
Yeah, and embracing discomfort, practicing discipline in small ways, finding that buddy.
Reflecting on mortality with memento mori, the surprising utility of negative visualization, and ending with the immense power of gratitude.
And the thread through it all seems to be that these aren't just lofty ideas. They're actionable. Things you, listening right now, can actually start doing. Maybe even tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's those small, consistent actions stacking up over time. That's where the transformation happens.
Laying the groundwork for real growth.
Definitely. So maybe as you go about your day now, just reflect, which one of these ideas resonated most strongly with you right now? What's maybe one small, concrete change you feel sparked to try? Something you could implement immediately to shape your morning, just a little more intentionally.
A single step.
Just one. We really hope you continue exploring these concepts, see how they fit into your own life, your own goals.
Yeah. Here's to making those mornings count.
Yeah.
And living with maybe just a bit more purpose and fulfillment.
Stoicism has so much to offer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a great discussion.
Until next time, this has been the Thought Provoked Podcast.